we're going to get started with the baseline here. And since the All-Star break for New York, the Knicks beat the Bulls in a nail-biter, and obviously they got blown out in Cleveland and in Boston. That lowered their record to 0-7 against the Cavs, Celtics, and the Thunder. You throw the Grizzlies in there, they are 1-7 against the top two teams in each conference. And I'm wondering, Jerry, before we get into that, you tweeted earlier this afternoon, you got a lot on your mind. On your mind right now. Let's get right into that.
So many things. And you also left out that nice overtime finish versus the Hawks, which I was at with my son, his first Knicks game. The overtime really questioned my parenthood. I felt like the kid was done by the midway through the fourth. Look, it's just a saga of ups and downs. I always waffle between trying to stay positive because I do think as a Knicks fan, and I'm an old Knicks fan, it's easy to get super negative with this team because we're finally in the hunt and we have all these aspirations, which we have not had for a very, very long time. So it's very easy to get upset when you are 0-7 versus Celtics and Thunder and Cavs, like we've been saying. I've justified it in my head and I feel okay about it now. Super disappointing, but ultimately none of it matters. What matters happens in the playoffs. And I don't think we've seen this team fully formed just yet. And I do think easily a game against the Cavs and the game against the Thunder were kind of thrown away. Very, very winnable games. Should have been won, in my opinion. So if they're 2-5, is the world crumbling? I know it's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts, and they didn't close the deal, but I'm not panicking by any stretch. I'm on the roller coaster, and I'm enjoying I'm saying, let's run it again. I'm fine with the roller coaster.
And if you've been on that roller coaster, Jerry, from the 90s through the 2000s, 2010s, it's been a lot of downs, a lot of bumps. So I'm sure you can appreciate this stretch now, maybe more than some younger Knicks fans, maybe not. But Mel, I'm curious for you, what's your level of concern? Because you had tweeted, I can't handle this anymore over the weekend. So what are your thoughts with the loss to Cleveland, the loss to Boston, and just in general?
I'm actually super concerned about this team. Unlike Jerry, right now I'm just feeling a little embarrassed, to say the least, as a fan, with the national media headlines saying we're pretenders, we're frauds. It's not a good look for us. And I mean, 0-7 against top teams, that's the truth. You can't really hide around it. And we're being exposed for it. I'm concerned because those are the teams we're ultimately going to have to face. Those are the teams we're going to have to beat to win a championship. So if we can't beat them now, I'm not much confident that we can beat them in the playoffs or in the finals. We've seen a lot of great regular season wins, especially a recent one like the overtime win against the Bulls. It gives you confidence in games like that, but I just can't feel too confident when we lose against top teams like the Celtics, like OKC, and it's not really a close competitive fight. More so we're getting blown out. I think it's okay to be concerned about that. I see a lot of fans going crazy, especially over social media right now. This team is still figuring it out, and a lot of fans have a win now mentality, and it might take a year, it might take a few years, but fans want to win. I can't blame them. Look at the drought we've had since we've had a chip, and when an organization makes moves like to get Cat, and when they make moves like trading 5 picks to get Bridges, they have a right to be mad when they're not able to compete with the teams they should be competing with.
Yeah, the margin of victory and obviously just not being competitive, to me, should raise some alarms internally. There's been, I guess, fans, media, some talk about Tom Thibodeau and his role in all this. And Jerry, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the coach, his role in it, and where you are on Tibbs.
I am certainly guilty, and I know Josh Hart and Brunson kind of, poke fun at Knicks Twitter about being the minutes police. I've always been a minutes panicker. There's been times where we've been on the right side of a blowout, and I'm in all my Knicks group chats saying, why are these guys still in? Look, you cannot deny what Leon Rose and Tibbs have done since coming to New York. So for me, I'm in the not panicking mode. I don't know how you could start questioning Tibbs' role. If you want to get on about the minutes, I'm with you on that. I think there's some games I'm like, why why are these guys still in the game as well in hand? But I think he knows the team a lot better than Knicks fans do. And it's always been his reputation of minutes and all that. I mean, look, defensively, which has been the Knicks' problem. Let's be honest. Offense is not necessarily the problem right now. They're a little limited with some of the injuries, but defense has been the issue. Is there really a better coach that's not coaching currently right now that could be the guy to fix the defensive problems other than Tibbs? Because I don't necessarily know who that person is. So again, I'm not trying to be overly optimistic and just trying to pretend like these problems aren't there. I think that we've all known that the Knicks probably need a 5 and have needed a 5. And Cat is a 5, but we've seen him alongside a bigger 5. Now, a lot of people think Mitchell Robinson's going to be the fix. And I think he can be, but he hasn't played in a very, very long time. So again, before I start panicking, I need to see this full team for a stretch that we never really got to see last year with Randall's injury and all that. I need to see the full team for a stretch before I start saying, maybe we should change the coach. And some people now are even saying, oh, Leon Rose gave up all that for Bridges. Guys, just go back before Leon Rose's tenure and look at the roster the year he took over till now. Chill out.
Where I come in is, stability is the goal for all these organizations. I'm not suggesting that people shouldn't be held accountable for the results, because they should. It's pro sports. That's how it works. But I think if you have a coach who's gotten you to this point, an executive and his group that's gotten you to this point, they deserve the benefit of the doubt in terms of seeing this thing through, certainly this season, and in my mind, into next season, before you start talking about any kind of a change at the head coaching position or the front office. I think it's very premature. That's just my view. I'm not telling anybody what to think or how to view it. And Mel, I'm curious for you as a fan, young media member, your thoughts on Tom Thibodeau's role in the struggles that we've seen recently against these top teams.
I would have to agree with Jerry on that and say it's a little premature to say fire him right now before we've seen a glimpse of this healthy team altogether. We haven't seen Mitchell Robinson on the floor with this team yet, so it's a little early to put that discussion out there. But in terms of Thibodeau's role in these recent losses, especially the ones where it's against the top teams, I mean, he's just not making the right defensive adjustments that we need him to make. A lot of times in games that we're getting blown out, it's from the get-go that we are not able to catch up. And that's because he's not making the adjustments mid-game, later in the game. And we need him to do that, whether it's switching man, switching a different defensive scheme mid-game that needs to be done because the current one is not working. That's what we need to see because we're just getting blown out by these teams, specifically the top ones, as I mentioned. So we need to see some adjustments made. That's what good coaches do. They're not going to let their teams continue to get blown out. So I just want to see better adjustments made during the game and better playmaking calls.